All right, we rolling this Freedom Phil. Like, subscribe. What's the situation? Well, we took Venezuela. Could we take Greenland? And what would Denmark really do? What would the EU really do? Yeah, just kind of thought I've had about how the old social order that we've lived under for ages, that the boomers prospered under, the illusion of it, it was built on the very same type of actions that Donald Trump just took with Venezuela. And for those that don't believe it, it's time you fucking grow up. Let's just be honest. Yeah, Freedom Phil, like, subscribe. Let's get into this. And hey, like I always say, this is a channel for adults. If you're some kid or you're some, mentally retarded person, you go watch a shiny doorknob. You're not supposed to be here to begin with. This is for the thinking people. Yeah, so let's get into it. And as well, if I find you to be remotely, whatever, just unpleasing in my chat, I will either time you out, I'll block you. And if you say some generic shit like hi or a bunch of emojis or stupid shit, I'll just refer to you as a robot or a retard or whatever. Because most of my chatters, if we're being real about it, there's only like less than 5% that are actually thinking humans. The rest of you are probably idiots, robots and retards. So let's get into the real topic I was talking about. I look at it like this. I see what happened in Venezuela, and a lot of people are like, it's about the oil. No shit, Sherlock, it's about the fucking oil. Did you just now figure this out? It's about the fucking oil. It's about the oil because that oil going to other countries is a problem for America. You got countries down in South America that are literally destabilizing a lot of shit, okay? Between the drugs, the oil, the problems, the people basically setting up weapons contracts, the fact that, like, China's been trying to make inroads to basically, set up bases and crap like that in some of these countries. Yeah, let's be honest. America's not too keen on that. Honestly, to some degree, I could think in the long run, it'd be nice if we decouple from China. What do you mean decouple from China? We start building more stabilized countries down south, and we start having more factories down in South America instead of having all this crap made in China. Imagine for a second that the stuff was made in South America instead of, like, Mexico and South America instead of China or India. Wouldn't that take some of the piss and power away from some of these countries over there where they try to be like, well, you're in America, we're not going to listen to you. Okay, don't listen to us, fine. But we're not going to buy your shit. And where does this fit? Where does Greenland fit into this? Let's just be honest. Whether you believe in global warming or not, whether you think it's man-made or just natural occurrence, the ice is melting. Northern Canada and Greenland are going to be major trade routes. This is going to be a thing. This is going to be a reality, whether you like to hear that or not. And it's also going to be potentially a military threat eventually. And who has their navy basically controlling those waters is going to make a huge difference on international trade. So it's in America's best interest, not just militarily, but for economic reasons, to control that north future trade route. Now, I know a lot of people that think about the EU and all that. And by the way, hey, if you're not a subscriber, why are you talking? I'm just throwing that out there. You want to speak? Yeah, be a subscriber. But it's like this. Why the hell should we really listen to the EU? If we want to take, Greenland, if there's something like, 35,000 people in Greenland? I mean, fuck, do they have more polar bears or penguins than people? Probably. And people say, well, that's Denmark's sovereign territory. Why is it Denmark's sovereign territory? Why? Why is that the case? Because we took it. Well, we can write another page in history, and we could take it. And you know what? People in Greenland would be better off. How much of the natural resources have not actually been accessed? How many jobs could be produced there? How many incredible things could happen in Greenland? Greenland will be, just like a lot of Canada, places down closer to Mexico are going to get hotter, and places a little farther north are going to be a better climate. People need to start being realistic about this northern area. And in the same way, like with Venezuela, if you don't think the world order has gone back to the old ways, we have. It took us less than 3 hours to take Venezuela. 3 fucking hours. Not this crap we did back during the bullshit George Bush, baby Bush war of Iraq and Afghanistan. Weapons of mass destruction. Oh, it's about. Remember when it was about saving the women of Afghanistan? Remember they tried to spin it as a feminist thing for Afghanistan? I do. I remember that. And I remember all the brain-lulled idiots that I grew up with that were my age group that signed up. You know why they signed up for that war? Those two wars? Because it was better than working at Walmart. It was better than working at some shit job. There were no factory jobs. By the way, thanks boomers, thanks older Gen Xers, as you slowly sold us, my generation, down the river. The best option a lot of my guys had was, potentially going to war and dying. Gee, thanks. And by the way, for those that think those wars were a failure, for the American people, they were a failure. At least if this Venezuelan thing, we're at least being honest. We're like, yeah, we're going for the oil. We're gonna bring our oil companies in there and fix that shit, and then we're gonna make our money back on that. It's gonna be better for America. It's gonna be better for Venezuela. And arguably, think about this for a second. In 1950 something, Venezuela was the fourth? Was it the fourth or fifth? Fourth richest country in the world. That country is sitting on top of a beautiful tropical soil, on top of what is arguably a giant lake of oil. It's crappy crude. It's not good crude, but it's heavy oil. You can actually use it for stuff. So whether you want to admit this or not, there's no reason that Venezuela should be in the position it's in. If they had gone the Nordic model, and they're like, what do you mean the Nordic model? When they found that oil in the Norwegian area, you know what they did? They put away a lot of the money over the course of the years, invested all over the world. They didn't rely off the oil. They were relying off the dividends that they make. That is what everybody should be doing, by the way. You should work your ass off when you're young, invest when you're young, live as cheap as possible so you can invest and actually live off the dividends of what you make, not off the actual profits. But most people are too fucking stupid to understand that. Venezuela could have done that. Venezuela could have been a paradise on earth. By the way, go take a look at Singapore as well. What does Singapore really have? What does Singapore really have that's so amazing? Oh, they have law and order and an incredible business economy. Oh, wow. Almost like if you're building a business up, building up things that the world wants and people need, producing products that are necessary, you could get rich. But instead, what do we see? What do we fucking see? People get pissed off and the socialists take over. And by the way, this is a hangover of colonialism. Let's just be honest. People that were pissed off because of colonialism, they viewed it as capitalism, and then the socialists come in, we, the people, the proletariat, we're going to take the businesses for the people. And you can't even maintenance the shit. Venezuela was producing less than 20% of what it could have done just a handful of years ago. You understand that? Without the technology that was brought in from the West, these places are falling apart. They don't even have people that can fix it. And part of the reason why is the people that you had fixing it, whether they were American or Venezuelan, you treated those people like shit. So they took their expertise and went somewhere the fuck else. Now, taking this back to Greenland and Denmark, do you really believe that the EU could really do anything about us? They need us more than we need them. Let's just be honest. These smug, self-important, can't even defend their own borders. Like literally, they had a very beautiful set of countries there for a while. The boomers grew up in an era with the NHS and all these programs and the social welfare shoving people to the side. By the way, as they slowly lost their businesses to globalism the same way as every other Western country, like let's move all the dirty shit out of our country, to now where you have a lot of people living on benefits or working some sort of, how many, okay, I gotta be honest, this is one of the problems America has as well, just like the EU. Not everything can be like an administration job. I'm sorry, we only need, in a modern era with AI and everything coming online, we don't need so many administrators. That era is coming to an end. But instead of the EU actually admitting that they need to cut their fucking budgets and get their shit back in order, their attitude was like, we'll just bring in a bunch of foreigners, a bunch of people from the third world that'll have a bunch of kids on the dole. They'll be living on our welfare programs. And inevitably what ends up happening, the EU is going to shit. By the way, you could blame a lot of this on Germany, by the way, back when they're like, they saw a dead kid dead kid on the Mediterranean shore and our hearts opened up. Let's let in all the migrants. What makes you think that shit wasn't staged? Could have been. And now look what's happening. You have a lot of Europe. It's now becoming Islama Eurostan. Why the hell should we listen to those motherfuckers? And by the way, we've got a problem with that shit going on in our country. We got people coming from the second and third world that are exploiting our welfare programs. I'm talking about you Somalis. Not just them. A lot of people from all over different backgrounds. I bet we got some Asians. I bet we got some Latinos. I bet we got some people from the East Bloc. Yeah, some white people. Surprised I call that out because I don't view it as a racial thing. I view it as a national, a culture thing. We need to start putting a boot up a lot of people's asses and start being for America first. That's just the God's honest truth. Hey, 8 people here. Thanks for the like. And we need to quit dicking around about this. And look, let's just be honest. Northern Canada and Greenland is going to be a thing. So let's just hypothetically say, and there's been a lot of talk about this lately, but a lot of the mainstream media doesn't want you to hear about it. The CBC doesn't want you to talk about this, that a lot of these provinces like, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and most of BC, they're sick of Ottawa and their bullshit. They're sick of their crap. They're looking around and going, we already sell most of our stuff to America. What if we became states in America? And some of the northern territories up there, where the Inuit live, they're looking around and going, yeah, the future is going to be Arctic water here. Why don't we get something out of it? What is Canada doing for us? In the same way that I think a lot of people in Greenland should have that same damn conversation. What is Denmark doing for you? So if one day within this administration, they go and take over Greenland, it wouldn't surprise me at all. And what would the fucking EU do? Really, what would you do? Because at the end of the day, and one might say this is kind of a dark thing to do, but we Americans have been fronting most of the bill for this Ukrainian nonsense that should have ended a long time. You know what? At the end of the day, and I'm not saying it's right, Ukraine is going to lose the parts that Putin's took. At the very least, where Putin's Black Sea Fleet is, they're going to lose that. So how many more soldiers on either side have to die? How much longer did we as Americans have to fund this nonsensical Ukrainian war? Which, by the way, this is the same type of crap we saw back in the day with Iraq and Afghanistan. Well, we got to hold the country. Yeah, there's 2 ways to do it. Honestly, the way they should have taken that country, and it sounds fucking horrible when I say it. When we nuked Japan, you know what that did? It told Japan, if you fuck with us, we'll fuck you so bad that you'll never recover. So you can either take the silver or get the lead. And guess what? Japan became an incredibly prosperous nation. They built themselves back up. They're a great trading partner, kind of ally in the region. Seemed to work out pretty good, didn't it? And that's the problem. We came in there talking about, we didn't come in there and put them under our boot. Not officially, world stage. We should have made that well fucking known when it came to Iraq and Afghanistan. We should have literally been willing to go in there and destroy entire villages. Just destroy them, plow them under, destroy the wells, and let them be known this is a desolate wasteland now. That is how you do a war. You do it fast, brutal, and fucking efficient. You don't care about the casualties, because that's their fucking problem. That is what we're going back to. Whether you love it or hate it, as far as our countries go, that is what we're going back to. And I know a lot of people are like, no, that's bad. Oh, it's bad. You grew up in a prosperous world because people in the 1940s, back people who strived through, the pioneer days to build a world, Gilded Age, building up the railroads, building up the everything, and then the war machine of World War I, and then eventually, the Depression and World War II. You live in a lot of you boomers and you fucking older Gen Xers, you grew up in a beautiful world, saved from it. You were literally protected. And part of what actually stopped us from actually keeping order was the nuclear weapons. Yes, it protected us and it stopped us. Because once a country has nukes, what this other country, but I think we need to take a goddamn good look at is what is China doing? What is Russia doing? What is Cuba doing? What is North Korea doing? Are they coming to the aid of Venezuela? Are the boats floating over there? Just like Iran when we fucking bombed them. What did they do? They all they all stuck to their own business. Because a lot of these socialist countries, if we're being honest about it, they're in it for themselves. They're capitalists for themselves. Their alliances are very loose and weak. So this whole thing, like, well, if you do this, you might be threatening nuclear war. And they know if they fucking did that shit, they'd be annihilated too. So you got to start asking yourself, I'm not saying that they're weak. I'm not saying their countries are weak. But how much of their strength is truly a paper tiger? Because, hey, we bombed Iran's nuclear facilities. What did all those socialist countries, now I'm talking hard socialist countries, do? I'm not talking about European socialism like Nordic socialism or whatever. I'm talking these hard socialists do. What did they do? They did nothing. We just take 2 to 3 hours. We took the president of Venezuela. What are all these countries doing? No. Gets bad. They're not doing shit. And I think that's what most Americans should pay attention to. You know, the idea that we got to live under this whole, this nanny state nonsense from multinational. And they're going to say, and people are going to say the stupidest line, we won't be respected on the world stage. Well, guess what? We never were respected on the world stage. We were paying the EU's bills for years. We were sending in food aid and, billions of dollars to African and South American countries. What the fuck good did that ever do us? Hey, we just went in there in 3 hours, took Venezuela. We're going to have to probably put boots on the ground. I won't deny you that. Just like you need police. Hey, by the way, did you notice that D.C. became a lot safer of a place ever since we put the National Guard in there? The murder rate has gone down exponentially. Isn't that funny how that works? You need strength to have law and order. So yeah, there's going to be some boots on the ground. Don't fool yourself. And until that country becomes a stabilized country, if we get someone in there that knows how to run the shit, isn't ready to go socialism at the first bat of a fucking voting eye. I think what you're seeing is the reestablishment of a strong order. And that scares the shit out of all the pussies. Because all the pussies, their entire power structure is based off one simple thing. You can't do that. You can't do it. No. What happens when you just say, we're doing it? And that's why I think maybe within this administration, we could take control in some way of different parts of Canada, or more likely Greenland, because there's nobody there. All 35,000 people. What's Denmark going to do? But you know what? If parts of Canada end up becoming states in America because they're like, we're getting a better deal being part of America, I'd laugh my ass off. After all the Tim Hortons finger wagging of Canadians, like smug wannabe superiority, at least we're not Americans. Yeah, you got the crappier part of North America. Some of it's really beautiful, by the way. But you get my point. It's like, where I think we could see a changing order. And I'm just kind of waiting to see what'll happen. Freedom Phil, like, subscribe, take it easy.